All right, so on the agenda today is this pair of Sony MDR-V4 headphones. So there's basically two issues with these. One, the earpads are completely shot, so I will replace those. That's easy to do. The other problem is this coiled cord is not in great shape, and this isn't really something that I prefer to have on headphones anyway, so I'm just going to replace it with part of a 3.5 millimeter audio cable. I'll just cut it in half and use one half. So, all right, let's give this a shot. All right, so the headphone cord comes in on this side. So first thing I'm going to do is take off this completely disintegrated ear pad here. So hopefully what we'll see is, yes, we have some screws here that I can take off, and that will basically remove a plastic piece. And behind that, we should have access to the wiring. So, all right, let me get a screwdriver and see if I can get this thing off. All right, so the next task is to make sure I understand how things are wired here. So here's the 3.5 millimeter plug that plugs into the audio device. So this is a TRS plug. The way these work is that there are three conductors in the shaft that goes into the corresponding jack on the audio device. So there's the sleeve, which is closest to the connector housing, the ring, and the tip. So the sleeve is the signal ground, the ring is the right channel audio, and the tip is the left channel audio. So I will use the multimeter to verify continuity between the plug and the solder pads here on the driver, and that way I'll know how the wiring comes in from the cable into these solder pads, so I know how to hook up my new cable when I attach that. All right, so we got the good old Aneng AN8002 multimeter hooked up here. So all right, so here's the sleeve, so that should be the audio ground. So that comes in here on the driver. So here's the sleeve, so that should be the right channel. So that, I believe, is going to be this one here, which it is. Okay, and so the tip is the right channel, and that's definitely going to be this pad, since you can see the only wire coming from the headphone cable comes here because it's wired directly to this driver. This is the left driver. Okay, so the nice thing about these Sony headphones is that they give you two solder pads for the three wires, meaning you can unsolder just the wires that are coming from the headphone cable without having to detach the wires that go to the other side of the headphone, the right side. So basically I just need to unsolder the pads and then then I can install the new cable and then solder in the wires of the new cable, and that's basically it. Okay, so all right, let me get the soldering iron fired up. All right, I just realized I desoldered the wrong wire here. This red wire goes to the right side. The one I wanted to desolder was this one. So all right, I guess I'm going to need to fix that, so let's do that. All right, so at this point, the wires on the headphone cable are completely detached, so now I just need to get them out of the strain relief. I can take them out and start to work on getting the new cable in. All right, one thing that you should try to be careful about if you do this is there's a rubber grommet here that the cable feeds through. We want to pull that out gently from this side before threading the headphone cable out, because we want to try to not break that so that we can reuse it for the new cable. Okay, so that looks like it should be okay. So yeah, now I just need to slide this out. All right, so I'll do that off camera and then come right back. All right, so I reinstalled the rubber grommet here, and this is my audio cable that I cut up that I'm going to now use as a headphone cable, and I've stripped the sheathing so that I have access to the wires inside it. So I've also verified via continuity with the plug that this copper wire is the audio ground, red is the right channel, black is the left channel. So I think I'm going to put some heat shrink on this exposed copper wire so that it doesn't short to anything when it's inside the ear cup. But once we do that, we should be ready to solder them onto the driver here. All right, so I have now put the heat shrink on the ground connection, and I've pre-tinned the ends of the wires with a little bit of solder just to make them a little bit easier to solder on. So at this point, I think we can try to get them onto the driver here. All right, so hopefully everything's soldered correctly, and I think at this point I can now work on getting the cable properly situated in the ear cup and getting it through the strain relief, and at that point I think we can reassemble and see if it works. All right, so it was a little annoying to get this cable in around the strain relief, but I think it's in pretty tight now, so I think I'm going to try to screw this thing back on, and yeah, I guess we'll see if it works. All right, headphones are back together. I've tested them. They do work. So last thing to do is to replace the pad. So I'll get this other pad off and I'll put new replacement pads on. And yeah, then I think we're done. All right, the replacement pads I got are blue because I think they're going to look ridiculous, but that's kind of fun. So, all right, let me see if I can get these on. All right, there's one on. I'll do the other one off camera. All right, so both of the new replacement ear pads are on. They actually don't look quite as weird as I thought they would. So yeah, these are, I think, ready to go. These headphones are definitely not in new condition. The headband's a little bit beat up. You know, these have definitely seen some use, but they're still perfectly serviceable. And you know, now they're ready to go and ready to use. So I made the cable. I think it's about 4.5 feet long. So I don't know what that is in metric units. Sorry. Here's the plug that was already on there. So yeah, these are working and ready to go. So I think we can call this a successful refurb.